Okay, so we now have some other questions. Let's see. This next one, we start with Trista. And the question is, should the school district continue to have police officers functioning as school resource officers in our schools? Thank you.
Thank you for this question. I want to give a little bit of background just because I think it is in context to this question. I mean, obviously I work at the police department, so I do have some knowledge on this subject. The Woodland PD started their school resource officer program in 1998. So it has been around for quite some time. And the goal of a school resource officer is to facilitate the development of positive relationships. Over the past 10 years, juvenile crime has actually gone down since we've had school resource officers in our schools. I support the school resource officer program. I think that they're actually there to provide assistance and keep our schools safe. They are there to be able to help staff and to be able to be mentors for students. There's a lot of positive relationships that are built that have lasted a lifetime. There's school resource officers, for example, our deputy chief used to be a school resource officer, and he still talks to many of the youth that are now adults, provides them with life experience advice, work advice. You know, they call him when they have questions. I think the relationship is actually a very positive one. And I think Woodland schools in general, we are doing well with our school resource program, and I do support that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Trista. Okay, next is Kandice Richardson Fowler. The question is, let me read it exactly so you all get the same question. Should the school district continue to have police officers functioning as school resource officers in our schools? Thank you, Kandice.
So I know that this has been a hot button topic for a while now, and I didn't have a lot of information on it. So I reached out to the police chief to have a meeting with him to try and figure out what's going on, get some information as well. Not only did I reach out to the chief of police for Woodland, I reached out to Dr. Mari Smith-Gray, who did her PhD dissertation on the disparity of discipline for Black and Latino students. She was also the former vice principal of Pioneer High School, and is a professor of education at Cal State East Bay, if I'm not mistaken. Anywho, so that being said, I don't have all the answers. I would like to see metrics. I would like to see the data. I come from a public administration background. The numbers are really important to me. So I would like to know what crime is being circumvented, the relationships that are being built, how is that sustained? Are we connecting the kids to the community through the school resource officers or through other programs? I would like to see the efficacy of the school resource program. I know that we are not in a cauldron of activity like an LA or an Oakland school, but I do know that we have some issues at the local high school with the vaping and illicit drug usage in the bathrooms during school hours. What is the SRO doing to circumvent that? When I hear my friends saying that their kids don't use the bathroom during school hours because they're afraid of what happens in these bathrooms. I would like to know more information. I would love to get some metrics so I could make a determined decision or an informed decision. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Kandice. Okay, Jake, let me read the question for you, and you can give us your answer and your insight. Should the school district continue to have police officers functioning as school resource officers in our schools? Thank you, Jake.
Thank you. And I feel like I've been very clear about my position at our public board meetings, which is I struggle on a philosophical level when we cut $400,000 in a mental health services contract earlier this year. And I voted against those budget cuts, and I voted against the budget because it included those cuts. And now we're being asked to fund full-time school resource officers on campus every day. And so I struggle with that on a values-based assessment. However, I think that there is potentially value in continuing the SRO program, but it has to align, I think, with certain parameters. One is that it needs to be based in the ideas and the implementation of restorative justice practices. It needs to be ultimately an opportunity for us to address and eliminate what we frequently call the school to prison pipeline. And I think also that there is a lot of value in terms of building those positive community relationships between our youth and law enforcement. But like Kandice said, I think that metrics are really important because when you don't have strong metrics, it's very easy to fall into a trap where, correlation is not causation. And I've heard this cited before that there's a strong decline in juvenile crime since we had the school resource officers, but there's been a significant decline in juvenile crime statewide and nationwide. And so I don't think that we can necessarily attribute one to the other. And it's going to be very important that we're able to make data-based decisions on the efficacy of the school resource officer program if we're going to continue implementing it.
Thank you, Jake.